Hi, this is Mark Meir, the voice of Commander Shepard, and you're tuned in to the EnteRChazmaN podcast, my favorite podcast on the Citadel. ChazmaN and Phoenix, let the conversations begin. To the Normandy.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the EnteRChazmaN podcast, where this is your place to hear about all the nerdy video game news from this week. As always, I'm joined by my good buddy Phoenix. And just before we start, I'd just like to inform you guys that for just the audio version, we are now also available on these fine platforms right up here, or somewhere above my head right over here. But yeah, and if you didn't know, we are available on YouTube, so check us out there. So Phoenix, how are you? How have you been, man?
This week it's been a week, and I was going to go on about how terrible it's been, but you know what? It turned around about midweek, and I might argue this might actually be the best week I've had all year. You want to hear the sound of what makes it the best week ever?
I think I already know where this is going. Go ahead.
You ready?
Show it off.
Yeah.
We can't hear anything.
You can't hear anything?
No.
How can you not hear that?
We can't hear anything. Well, basically what Phoenix is showing off...
in the audio.
I'll play some music in the background, believe me. But basically what he's showing off is his Scott Pilgrim versus the World. What is the limited run version?
KO edition.
KO edition. So it's basically what, just like a suitcase that opens up, or is it a...
It's a freaking what is it? Instrument case, or a tour case, and it's got a little pop-up, little 3D cutout of Sex Bomb and their whole little band. It plays Anamanaguchi music, and then it's got like a whole bunch of crap inside of it, man. It's got special drumsticks and guitar picks and the collector's super awesome edition of the game. It's the best thing ever. Waiting a year for it was kind of painful. My wife actually ordered it for me for my birthday last year. So it's been a year and like 2 months for it to be created and shipped out.
And
so.
I informed you guys of that deal that popped up. I don't know if you... I'm sure you would have seen it at some point, but I made sure to send it to you.
Which deal?
The deal. I sent you that email.
Oh, yeah. When it actually popped up back.
I'm the one that I sent it to you to say, hey, limited run is doing this. Scott Pilgrim, you need to get it.
Yeah, no, that was a good time.
And
it's a cool story, because that game was basically doomed to obscurity because for the longest time the licensing rights had been gone. It disappeared from all the old digital storefronts. So I think people were pretty sad that it was potentially going to be gone forever. And then out of nowhere, bam, physical collector's edition from limited run.
Meanwhile, I'm still... I don't know where... I'm assuming mine's lost in the void somewhere.
You still haven't reached out or contacted them?
I've reached out.
You got the complete or collector's edition? Is that the one you got?
Yeah, I reached out and it said shipped, and I don't know what's happening.
How long ago did it say shipped?
It's probably been about a week or two now.
Oh, that's about right. The limited run shipping can take a little while. It's not like Prime or anything. So
well, if it says arrived, then I'm gonna obviously call them.
Just don't want swiped it.
Yeah. But yeah, so Phoenix wanted to kind of show his little nerdy gift off. So yeah, in the video game world, I guess for us this last week, it's been a bit slow. There hasn't really been a heck of a whole lot. I mean, obviously, I pay attention to a lot of guys like Young and Skill Up, and they kind of always find something to talk about. But for me, at least, what about you, Phoenix? I know you didn't really send me much, so.
Well, I'll tell you honestly, my head has just not been, stuck in the gaming news this week. I've had a lot of other side things going on with life and whatnot. So if there has been any big news, it's mostly slipped me over. So you're going to be getting some fresh takes from me tonight, because I am definitely not up to date with some of the stuff. So.
But we are not totally barren. There were a couple little things. So today we will be talking about, one of them would be just some more updates on what's going on with Halo and 343 Industries. We will also be talking about a little movie came out over the weekend called The Batman. We will be talking not about that, but about other Batman things. And then was it just yesterday? I'm already forgetting my days. But I think just yesterday, Sony's State of Play just happened. And we'll also be talking about that. But yeah, to start things off, I felt like it would be super fun for us to talk about Batman. But unfortunately, Phoenix was not able to get out and watch the new Batman movie that just dropped. And
3 hours, man.
I know.
3 hours. Well, here's the issue. So it's 3 hours, which, is
crazy.
a time commitment. But my wife wants to see it too, and we're both just, slammed schedule-wise. So finding time over the weekend to try, get a 3-hour movie in just has not been something in the cards right now.
The last half hour, I had to go to the bathroom so bad, but I did. I don't know how I was able to not pop.
Well, that's why you get the really big cup. So then when you inevitably have to go, you just do your thing.
Listen, I used to work at a movie theater. Ask Phoenix. I wouldn't want to have to clean that, grab that cup afterwards, cleaning that theater. So shout out to all of my fellow movie theater peeps. But yeah, so I figured let's talk Batman anyways. Or Phoenix threw the idea at me, and I thought it would be super cool for us to kind of each pick out our favorite Batman movie. We're going down the super nostalgia trip.
Well, before we do that, I do want to get your opinion, because I haven't talked to you at all about the new movie, and I certainly don't want you to spoil it for me.
No.
I mean, is it what you were kind of hoping out of that movie, or did you feel like anything was disappointing, or did you go into it like low expectations and it exceeded those? Like, I know you're a bigger, I hate to say you're a bigger Batman fan than me, because I'm definitely a Batman fan, but I know
my favorite superhero.
He's probably your top guy.
He's
so,
probably your
second
opinion, probably your second favorite behind Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spidey's probably always gonna have a top spot, but Batman's like right up there.
He's my favorite. I'm glad you asked. I mean, I wasn't going to, just give you my thoughts, because I wanted you to kind of enjoy it for yourself. But for very surface level opinions on it, it's very mixed. I would say for like maybe the first half an hour to the first hour, I was thinking it was going to be the greatest Batman movie I had ever seen. It really gets things like aesthetic, environment, themes. It really gets all that stuff right when it comes to Batman. But unfortunately for me, in my opinion, towards the latter end of the movie, it starts to make a few decisions that are like not necessarily bad, but it's just a little uninteresting.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. Like all of the acting is incredible. Like, I loved Zoe Kravitz. I loved Robert Pattinson was a really good Batman. Trying to be as non-spoilery as I can. Like, the Penguin was awesome. The Riddler was awesome.
I did not realize until like 2 weeks ago that the Penguin was freaking Colin Farrell.
It's Colin Farrell, and Paul Dano is the Riddler.
Yeah, Paul Dano I knew.
He's awesome.
That makeup for Colin Farrell is freaking ridiculous.
Colin Farrell was so good, they're giving him his own TV show.
Really?
Yeah. Some sort of... I think they're calling it Gotham PD or something, which is very similar to that other Gotham show.
I don't know. He was kind of like with the comic relief in that movie a little bit.
He was awesome. He's like, he was... The movie does a great job of just kind of getting characters right. Like you were saying, like, Penguin feels very penguin-y, even though he doesn't smoke in the entire movie, which apparently Warner Brothers, like, when they gave this director the reins for the movie, they were like, he cannot smoke. I guess that was one of the few things that...
Yeah, it's a big faux pas nowadays.
Yeah. So. But yeah, man, like, Penguin's awesome. The Riddler's really good, but he's definitely a different take. So... I personally enjoyed him, but I could very easily see some people not, particularly enjoy him.
All right. And you said you like Pattinson. Like, where would he rank for you, like, just in regards to all the Batmans out there that we've seen live action-wise?
It's really hard, because, again, I don't want to give anything away. He plays a good Batman, but they don't really give you much of the Bruce Wayne, archetype. So it's almost, in my opinion, it's almost impossible to say whether he was a good Bruce Wayne or not. Which I don't know if that, I don't want that to spoil for you, but like,
Yeah, and that won't spoil it. I mean, I guess I'm asking because I've been trying to avoid the spoiler reviews and whatnot, but I've definitely been trying to get different takes from people, kind of seeing how they feel about Pattinson's performance and whatnot. And overall, I hear favorable things, but I'm hearing very mixed things on his Bruce take in particular. Like most people like him as Batman,
there
but
is no Bruce take.
I've had there's a couple of things I've watched from certain reviewers that were acting like they really like this very kind of subdued, subtle, brooding Bruce, which other people are like, I don't know, it leaves a lot to be desired. So I was kind of curious on where you stood on it.
He's basically... what I got from this movie is that they very much were getting across the idea that this Batman had almost totally engulfed Bruce Wayne. Like, he really... like, they even... oh, gosh, I was going to say there's a scene. There's even parts where he's kind of negligent with his company. So he's very... oh, gosh. He's very untied to his Bruce Wayne alter ego. Or, I guess Batman would be the alter ego. But, like...
well, that's the whole point, though, isn't it? Like, Bruce Wayne really is the alter ego. Like,
yes.
Batman is who he really is.
And I like that. I actually like that aspect of the movie. It makes it more realistic. If you would think a guy wearing tights, going out, climbing rooftops, beating up criminals with his hands... I could imagine that person's got a few screws loose, and it would be really hard for them to hide in society. Like it's not a stretch to imagine he would have problems blending in.
Right. How old is he supposed to be in this movie? Like, I know it's supposed to be like his second year being Batman, but as like a character, like how old is his Bruce Wayne? He's in like his 20s, his 30s? Because I know Pattinson is probably like his late 30s at this point.
I thought he was like early mid 30s. Is he that old?
Is he?
Is he older? Oh, I don't know how old he is.
I don't know. That means I'm older than Pattinson. Oh no.
I
was younger.
I thought he just played someone his age. I mean, I didn't really.
Well, I guess I asked because I think that kind of depends on how I would, I don't know, picture his Bruce Wayne fitting into that society. Like if he's a really young Bruce Wayne and he hasn't figured out kind of the purpose of the Bruce Wayne, like, what's a good way to say this? That alter ego, then I can kind of see how maybe he just gets, caught up in the whole Batman side of things. But
I definitely,
if he's a Bruce Wayne who's in his like late 30s, then you would think he's probably got more of a reign on things at that point.
I definitely think,
I'm speaking without seeing the movie.
I definitely think in the movie there is a sense that he does begin to see the importance of the Bruce Wayne alter ego. So I do think he is probably fairly young. He does seem like maybe he's meant to be like mid to late 20s, maybe early 30s. Yeah, he's not meant to be an older person. He does seem like someone who's learning on the move, and again, they do give you the sense that he sees how shoot, I can't think of the word. He sees how vulnerable the Bruce Wayne aspect of him is.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Was there anything else? Sorry.
No, that's all good. As I know, it's probably hard for you to really get into details without edging into spoiler territory, and I don't want you to do that.
But
so, how do you think he compares to like Christian Bale? Like, I'm assuming that's who the Batman you probably would have put up there, kind of like high-ranking Batman live-action actors up till now. So, do you think he is better than Bale, less than Bale, equivalent?
Oh man, that's tough. I mean,
or is Bale not your runner-up?
Bale is not my favorite Batman.
Oh well, then who would that be?
I'm probably out on a line on this. I always really liked Val Kilmer. I thought Val Kilmer was a fine Batman, and I even like Michael Keaton. Yeah. I think Keaton and never mind. My favorite Batman is Kevin Conroy. But if we're talking live action Batman, I would say Keaton or Kilmer are like my favorites, and then just below that would be Bale. Bale was not a bad. I was kind of indifferent on Bale.
So Pattinson kind of ranks like third or fourth then for you.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely above Clooney. He's definitely above Ben Affleck.
Okay, so I'm really gonna probably be in the minority for this. Although I think he's been in some of the worst Batman movies, I think my favorite Batman is probably Ben Affleck.
Really?
Like, the more I think about, like, and part of it maybe it's just the aesthetic of it, like, and that's probably, I think it's hard for me right now. And not that I don't think I'm going to like the new movie, but Pattinson, just, I don't know, he doesn't have, for me, look like Batman. I don't know, he looks a little too young. And I think part of it is like, okay, if I could really think of this as, okay, it's just his first couple of years as Batman. He's going to, age up and grow into this more, mature Batman. That'd be one thing, but Pattinson's always going to have that baby face. He's always going to seem like a young Batman, even when he's, a veteran. So I think that's what I liked about Affleck was he had that, that experienced look, but I don't know, he had some, I don't know.
I think they're both kind of stinted by the movies they were in. Like, I feel like...
Yeah, well, that's what I'm not judging the movie right now. Like, if we're talking about Batman movies, nothing regarding Affleck would be on the table for me.
I feel like
I'm just looking purely at, the performances that they had to work with and the way they looked.
Well, the reason why I don't put Affleck up towards my top is not because of him himself. It's because the movies he was in were not great. Like, and you could say that's kind of unfair way of looking at Affleck. And maybe I'm looking at Pattinson more favorably because the movie he was in was just better.
Sure, I mean, you have favor by association just because he was in a better, production. So I get that.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way I feel. Pattinson was fine. I mean, I more like the idea that just like they get the Batman character right. I think that's what makes it feel like he's a good Batman. He's not like fantastic, but they get him right. They get his thematically he's correct. One cool thing about the movie is I won't go into specifics, but they definitely make Batman more the world's greatest detective in this one, which I'm curious to see if you like that aspect or dislike it.
If it plays out well, I'm going to like that because that's definitely a core part of Batman's character.
This Batman is definitely smarter than a lot of other Batmans. But, so yeah, what else? Did you want to go straight into my movie?
Yeah, I mean, I know you were kind of want to get into like what your favorite like overall Batman movie is. So, yeah, go to that. We can kind of branch off from there.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm actually really excited to talk about this movie. I feel like it's a Batman movie that a lot of people overlook, mainly because it is animated. I feel like a lot of people look over a lot of the DC animated films. And it's the same thing with the Marvel stuff, right? Like, I would say a lot of those movies get looked over. Oh, certain movies I feel like get looked over. Like, did you ever get to see, what was it, Doctor Strange? Did you ever see the Doctor Strange animated movie?
I did. I tell you, the Marvel animated doesn't usually do it for me as much. Like, they're usually fine, but, I mean, I would definitely lean on, if we're talking about animated feature-length films, then the DC universe by far has the better ones. Like, you're right, I know where you're going with your animated series one, but even just like some of the like more standalone ones, like was it Under the Red Hood? I thought was really good.
That was good.
And I mean, there's a bunch of them. Oh man, I haven't watched the newest ones at the Long Halloween. Have you seen that yet?
No.
I've heard pretty good things about that. I liked the one they did recently. It was Batman versus the Ninja Turtles or something.
I didn't get to watch that one. That was a comic, I think.
Yeah, it was based off one of the old comics. But yeah, I mean, I like where DC does with the animated, usually more so than a lot of their, actual live action stuff. So I can definitely get behind that. But I mean, most people, they still have the stigma that an animated film is a children's film or children's kind of form of entertainment, which I think that paradigm has shifted a lot over the past 10, 15 years or so, but you still got that stigma. And I think best, especially at the time that, I don't know if you said it yet, well, go into your movie. I'm going to jump ahead if I do.
No, I guess just some basic info on it. I mean, the reason why this movie is so good is, like, as you were saying, is a lot of its ties to other fantastic series, as the animated series was. I mean, I think me and you would agree that that's a fantastic TV show. One of the all-time...
I don't think you officially said the name of the movie.
Oh, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Yeah,
I was trying to avoid it because you hadn't done the big review.
Yeah. Batman Mask of the Phantasm. If you don't know, the movie was co-directed by two people, by Eric Radomski, who is the co-creator of the animated series, so that's why it's so fantastically tied into that show. It was also directed by Bruce Timm, who's basically, from what I've read and understand, he's basically one of the major creators of the entire DC animated universe.
Yep.
Which is kind of cool. Did he have ties to the comics, or I don't know?
Didn't he? I could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm always bad about remembering comic authors.
I'm pretty sure he probably has ties to that or something. But yeah, once again, it's basically Batman Mask of the Phantasm is based on Batman the Animated Series. It's almost like an extension, although I'm sure it takes a few liberties here or there. But essentially, the movie came out in 1993, which was almost a year after I was born. Haha, there you go.
Make me feel old, Chaz.
I know. That's how old this movie is. A cool little tidbit is this was actually the first DC animated movie to release theatrically. And basically, they kind of pushed it out the door very quickly. And due to them doing that, it actually failed at the box office. But after its home media release, it became so successful that it basically paved the way for Batman and Mr. Freeze, Sub-Zero, which was another great movie that I need to watch that one. Actually, I haven't watched that one in a long time. And another movie it helped kind of fund is Mystery of the Batwoman. What about you? Have you get to see any of those?
I've seen the Sub-Zero one. I haven't seen the Batman one. Because I picked up the Blu-ray a while back of the whole animated series, and it had Mask of the Phantasm in there, and it had Sub-Zero. But I don't think it had the Batwoman one.
I had that VHS, the black case copy for Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah.
I still have it in my garage. But,
yeah, I do too.
But like every time I would watch it, it would always play the trailer for Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero, and that was like the coolest freaking trailer. I kind of remember just the voice acting and all that stuff that they kind of had for it. But that's basically all the notes I had. I mean, what about you? Were there any like major things that you remember about the movie that we can go into?
I mean, it's been a while since I've watched it in earnest. I mean, I definitely remember like elements of it. I mean, what always kind of sells through with that movie is just Kevin Conroy and Hamill, like, and that's not just looking at the movie. Like, I mean, I think most people, if they can separate the animated facet from the live action, those are probably two of the truest incarnations of those two characters. Like, there's other good iterations of them and reimaginations, but I think you said it earlier, Conroy is Batman to me.
He's so good.
I mean, granted, it's his voice and acting married with the visuals of the show. Like, I can't really separate those. But I mean, of course, he was also the voice in the Arkham series, and same thing with Hamill. So those incarnations of the characters, I think, truly fit, at least how I've always imagined Batman. But that's what I've grown up with, too. I think that's kind of why, I don't know, Pattinson, it's hard for me to really feel attached to really any Batman. Like, there's an aesthetic to it and just like a personality to it. None of them are Conroy. I mean, to be fair, no one's ever gonna be Conroy, but no one even really feels like it gets close to me. I feel like at least like Affleck, from a stylistic standpoint, kind of had that look. He kind of looked like the animated series, a little thicker.
I can see that.
He kind of moved a little more like the Arkham Batman. And honestly, I liked his portrayal of both Batman and Bruce. He got terrible material, but that was probably the closest live action Batman I've seen that harkens back to the Kevin Conroy days from an aesthetic. Once again, the way they treated those characters, completely different. But that's why I base almost every Batman thing off of now is, does it have those animated series vibes? Can I picture that Kevin Conroy Batman on this new actor? And honestly, that's probably very unfair of me. I probably need to be a little more open as far as letting these actors kind of do their own thing with it and reimagine the character. But that's what I grew up with, man. I was a kid in the 90s watching animated series every afternoon. So, I don't know. And then Hamill was great.
Yeah. I feel like, as you were saying, the reason why this movie kind of... I mean, truly, in my opinion, the standout for this movie is Batman and Bruce Wayne. It really nails... It nails not just of that character, but it nails, like, showing the different faces of each character in the movie. Like Kevin Conroy, like, perfectly balanced, like, the scenes where he's playing Bruce the billionaire playboy, and then there's other scenes where he's playing like the tortured and grieving son.
I feel like that was one of the few times like it felt like Bruce Wayne wasn't always the alter ego. Like if you think about it in most kind of incarnations, especially nowadays, like Bruce Wayne once again that's the mask, right? Batman's the true character, and then
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Wayne's the alter ego. But in that movie, it showed him trying to actually be Bruce Wayne. I mean, stepping out of the
Dude,
Batman light a little bit.
there's a scene that's so incredible every time I watch it. There's a scene where Bruce is, falling head over heels over Andrea Beaumont, spoilers, sorry guys, she plays the Phantasm in the movie.
Oh no, I can't watch it.
Spoilers for almost 30 year. Jeez, that movie's almost 30 years old.
My heart.
I know. But yeah, there's a scene where Bruce, of course, he makes this promise to his parents that I don't know exactly what the promise was, but I'm guessing it has something to do with he's gonna fight crime and gain, prevent other children or other people from having to go through what he's been put through. And there's this incredible scene where he falls heads over heels with Andrea Beaumont, and he's like at their
Yeah, the grave.
he's
right?
at the graveyard, yeah, and he's like at their tombstone, like in the rain on his knees, like begging them to
Why can't I be happy?
yeah. Or that he says I want to fulfill your promise, but something happened that I wasn't expecting. I became happy, and it's just like a really like heartfelt like scene of this guy who has this thing that he knows he needs to do, but is his happiness something important to him or something that he should seek out, and is it like is he letting down his parents? And like it's an incredible scene. And then Andrea or he says just give me give me a message or something, and she's like, they already did, or she's like, I'm your message, it's okay to let go or something. And like scenes like that are just
So emotional.
like so emotional. It's I will say like if you dislike the brooding, like just emo sadness of Batman, this is probably like top tier emo Batman. He's just like, but the good thing is it's not just that though. They're good.
No, go for it.
I was just saying it's not just like the heights of his sadness and like his vengeance and regrets and everything is also offset in the movie by the love he has with Andrea and him and all the stuff going on between them. So it's like a perfect dichotomy of him, and it's even further enhanced because she's going through all of the exact same things he's going through. That's why it's almost like they're almost too perfect of a couple for each other, because they both have almost the exact same motivations. They're both equally as in love with one another, but they're both out seeking revenge. And revenge is just like at the end scene where she wants to kill the Joker or something. He's like, Andrea, revenge won't do this, and she's like, it's too late for me. And it sounds just like it's coming out of his mouth,
Mm-hmm.
And in a way that's really cool, because it takes the whole idea of Batman's revenge. He's always vengeance. I am vengeance. And it kind of
she kind of is what Batman would have been if he didn't have the same code, the same restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
He basically is looking at a mirror or a different path that he could have taken, and how he kind of pulled away from that. But it's heartbreaking to kind of see how that all kind of played out, that really he can't ever be happy based upon the life and the responsibilities he's got to live up to. And some of the best superhero movies are built on that. Like a lot of Spider-Man stories, same thing. Like he tries to balance his love life and his friends and all this other stuff to have both worlds, and it's kind of realizing that you can't always have both worlds. Batman definitely takes that more extreme where he just gives it pretty much everything but Batman. But still, it's always fun to see that dichotomy.
And what's really cool in this movie is that you have all of this like really deep emotional scarring, and you have all these people that are like, trying to seek vengeance or seeking closure with things, and then just in the middle of this movie just drop the Joker. And like that's what this movie is. It's just like all this like emotional drama, and then it's just like the Joker just in the middle, just like not giving a crap about what everyone's dealing with. And Mark Hamill is just so again, like, he's perfect, man. Mark Hamill is just, there isn't a better Joker. There just is not.
Well, of that variety, like I'm not gonna try to downplay any of the other great Joker performances out there. Like you can't really compare like a Hamill Joker to a Ledger Joker to even like a Joaquin Phoenix Joker. Like they all did amazing jobs, but very different takes on it. I mean, my personal favorite take is Hamill, but once again, that's clouded in nostalgia. And even with that being said, he is still a fantastic Joker.
I just
anyway,
think, I just think what it's not necessarily the difference in acting. I mean, obviously, Heath Ledger is a great actor. Obviously, Jack Nicholson is a
they're
great.
different characters.
Yeah.
Like they are not the same Joker. Just like not every Batman is the same Batman. Like the Bale Batman is not the animated series Batman. That doesn't make him a bad Batman. Just makes him a different Batman. They were all still acted well. So I, trying to argue which one is better is often a moot point. Like you're gonna have to, have your preferences on what kind of, universe you like Batman in versus what kind of, stylistic preferences you have. And for me, it's always gonna kind of come back to that animated series stuff. And a lot of it, I'll say it again, it's nostalgia. I grew up with it, but there was just an innate quality and just passion to what that team did, Hamill and Conroy and all those guys. So I have a question for you before we get too far into anything else. So you kind of mentioned it earlier that, I mean, one of the, I guess, drawbacks to Mask of the Phantasm is, drawback's such a bad way to say this because in many ways this was also the boon to it, but the fact that it was animated, right? What if they could release that movie, even if they released it now, but in a live action format? Do you think that would play as well? Or is that something that really only works either like in an animated format or only works with Conroy and Hamill? Or could they adapt that iteration and that story to the big screen now? And do you think it would be successful?
I don't. I don't see it. I feel like just the animated form or the animated form, way of making movies or TV shows. I can't quite necessarily put my finger on it, but there's a certain way that they can find ways of condensing information or condensing scenes that I don't know. Like I can't explain it. Like that movie is only an hour, 15 minutes long, and you compare that to what I just watched in The Batman, which is like 3 hours, and it's like I don't really necessarily think there was a big difference in like the amount of information or emotion that's gotten across. I think that's what the benefit of animated form is that you can do so much more with that. And let's be honest, comics are closer to cartoons than they are real life, so maybe it's easier to get across things from comics to animated form,
I inherently I feel like I want to disagree with that. I'm just trying to form my thoughts on why.
You mean with there being with the condensing?
I don't think the condensing is necessarily how do I say this? Like a cause and effect kind of thing. Because it's animation, they're able to condense things more. Like part of it is the audience they're trying to put it towards. They are trying to tell a shorter story. Like there's nothing inherent, I think, necessarily about animation that's gonna condense the format. Like you could put that format into live action and still have the same information come across. I think it's the way it is presented to the audience is maybe a little different, but I don't think the movie being animated or not is really about condensing. Like really that comes down to good writing. I think part of it is maybe the expectation. If I'm seeing a live action movie, there's a length to it and kind of an expected kind of expository nature that I'm going to be kind of expecting to interact with. At an anime movie, maybe your expectations are lower in that regard. But there's a lot of animated movies that are not condensed. Like they are lengthy, big deals that have a lot of not just running time, but a lot of expository and whatnot. So I don't think that is necessarily in relation just to it being animated. I'm not saying that movie wasn't more condensed, but I think that was probably more of a writing and a story-driven choice on how they decided to structure the narrative, opposed to it just being animated. Like I'm not saying it would work well live action. I haven't really put a whole lot of thought into it. I just kind of thought of the question. But I'm not really too sure if there's too much hindering it. Like from a like effect standpoint, there's nothing super over the top that they did through animation that I don't think we could do just as well with live action. Like they've proven time and time again, you can do anything you want in live action and make it look pretty good. So I don't think from that standpoint it'd be an issue. I think probably the biggest issue, especially if you're building off of that, original version, is you're bringing the weight of those performances. You're bringing the Conroy, you're bringing the Hamill, and I don't know if you could ever find a substitute for that in a live action world. Like, because you can't put Hamill and Conroy on live action screen and play those characters. They just don't fit the visual aesthetic to it.
What also could have attributed to the whole idea of condensing with this movie is the fact that, again, you have a guy like Bruce Timm co-directing it who, is very tied to either the comics or to the movies. So maybe that's another benefit, is that you have someone who knows what information is important, who knows what scenes are important and what's not. Whereas maybe some of the more modern live action movies, you have more directors who aren't necessarily tied to that IP, but they're tied to just movie making. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I do.
How you have someone who's making a movie, but just because that person is knowledgeable in how to make a movie doesn't necessarily mean they know how to take information or take scenes from comics and relay that, and relay it in shortest terms, or relay what's important or not.
It's a tricky thing too, because you got to think about this too. When Mask of the Phantasm came out, it was very much high off the heels of the animated series. You could probably wager just about anybody going to go see Mask of the Phantasm
was watching the TV show.
Yeah, so the background, expository, all the extra stuff you need to understand about the characters and whatnot, you already know going into it. And I think the expectation of your audience knowing that stuff is, it's grounded. Like, that's not, a big ask to assume that, okay, my audience is going to understand this iteration of Batman because of how popular it was at the time. But like when you look at, the brand new The Batman that just came out, they're trying to rebuild a whole new incarnation of this character in this world. So they need more time to go ahead and flesh that out. So I don't know. There's a lot that goes into it. I haven't watched Once Again Mask of the Phantasm in many, many years. So I can't really speak to exactly how I feel the pacing would be now looking back on it. But I don't know. I don't think necessarily the length that you're talking about is attributed directly to animation. So if we removed that factor, I don't know, I'm curious if you would think it would play out differently live action, if that was your only concern.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I guess one more thing is I kind of wanted to just expound a little bit on the Joker's kind of part in the movie. Like, it's so kind of neat how well they incorporate him into the movie. Because it isn't just, as I was saying before, where they just drop him in. He literally does have a tie to the plot and story. And it's so cool how they kind of do it, because they do this whole scene where, essentially, again, spoilers, the Joker in the movie, basically, in his previous life, basically was a henchman for, this mob boss, who is, what's his name? I have his name right here. He was the Weezer Valestra, or Salvatore, or whatever. But yeah, he basically was... What's cool is that they don't really give you the background knowledge, or they don't really explain how he became the Joker, but they kind of leave that to you, where it's like, well, maybe he fell into a pit of whatever that stuff was, however he lost his mind. But like I said, it's really cool. There's a whole scene where, Bruce Wayne and Alfred are looking at old pictures of the mob boss, and you see this weird guy with this weird smile in the background, and Batman picks up this little red pen or pencil and draws a big smiley face, and the Joker's laugh, Mark Hamill's laugh, comes into frame, and it's just the way they kind of have scenes framed and set up. It's really cool. Let's see. But basically, I guess how the Joker gets involved is because this phantasm that shows up in the city goes around and starts killing all of these mob bosses who happen to be tied into this old gang. Joker basically gets involved because, once again, they're members of his old gang. And the cool thing, though, that I actually really appreciate about the Joker's aspect in this movie is I don't really think he gives two licks about his old gang, which is kind of just funny and cool. I mean, they make it seem as though he kind of does, but in my opinion, I think he's just involved because he wants to annoy Batman, which is really, it's the Joker is very, to me, he seems very on brand. Like he may have some sort of tie, but he's just involved just because he wants to be involved,
Yeah, well, that's always my favorite incarnation of Joker. Is like he's not about running, a big organization necessarily. It's all kind of a means to an end kind of thing. Like his deal is always going to be messing with Batman. So as long as that's kind of at the core of his character, kind of being flippant about everybody else, kind of fits his nature.
And I'll just go, or there's a bunch of different scenes, I should say. There's like so many audio cues from this movie that like are just ingrained into my brain. Every time the Phantasm shows up to kill one of the mob bosses, all you hear is, "Your angel of death awaits, Chucky Soul," or "Your angel of death awaits, Buzz Bronsky," which is that awesome scene in the graveyard where she kills him while he's like in the pit. She kills him with the tombstone, and there's so many just cool audio cues. The angel of death awaits. There's little cues that I just like remember from this movie, like Batman stepping on the door that's sitting on this henchman, and I hear that sound, and there's the sound of Chucky Soul scream as his car's flying through the air, and I don't know, just like the way they did audio is just absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and I mean, I like this movie had a darker tone. Like it wasn't exactly a rated R animated movie or anything, but it definitely took a darker turn, even above and beyond where the animated series went. The animated series was already fairly dark in a lot of aspects, so nice to see them take that a little bit further for the the feature length.
Yeah, and I guess just a couple other things. I really like the scene where Batman, where Bruce Wayne is walking down the street with Andrea, and he's like started to become a vigilante, but not quite the Batman yet. And he sees this old guy getting mugged by this like group of 3 guys, and it's just an incredible scene of like Bruce Wayne being heroic, but ultimately getting his behind handed to him because he gets hit with a baseball bat, and the bad guys still get away. And there's just like a whole sense of like he can do more and stuff. Oh, and he like Superman punches this guy that's on a bike, and it's like an incredible scene. Just awesome. I guess just the last thing I wanted to talk about with this movie is overall its ending, man. Its ending is just so freaking good. Like, one thing I really appreciate, and I wrote this in my notes because I wanted to make sure I wrote it, or I talked about it, and is do you remember the future world in the movie? Like, kind of like the weird futuristic theme park that's in it? I never thought about it, but like something I caught on is like kind of the imagery that place takes within the movie, because like earlier in the movie it's like bright, brand new, it's open, it's shiny, and earlier in that and when it's like that, it's because like him and Andrea are like totally in love, and he doesn't feel pressured to be the Batman, and like, and it's just like it kind of just like shows where it kind of just is imagery of where their lives could have been. And then towards the end of the movie, like I really get the sense that like the place the future world starts becoming destroyed, and it looks like crap. There's like, it's dark and everything. And I get very much the sense that the imagery just like shows kind of where their lives are going, or what, where their futures are ending up, and essentially with like revenge, hate, loss, despair taking hold. I don't know. I just kind of really like that imagery.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I haven't seen those scenes in a while. You could also argue, I suppose, that because they're kind of ending up in that same location, it's kind of how, like, holding on to the past in a way. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Oh,
like,
that's
she
true.
can't give up what she was. There's no way to move beyond that, and how, like, that's kind of like tainting her future now, and that's, I mean, how it's kind of crumbling around her, because like the whole place like exploded, didn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of, I'm sure, imagery and stuff kind of taking place there that once again, I haven't watched it long enough to probably pick up on at this point, but I mean, that movie always had a great cinematic style, and just in general the imagery they used throughout the entire series was always pretty poignant. So no,
Dude,
definitely sold well.
I freaking love the fight scene with Joker in the miniature Gotham setup. It's so cool. Everything with that scene is just so Joker, and he's just, you could tell he's just having like the most fun time in his life. And I guess I just wanted to just mention the very last scene, which I feel like is just such an awesome closing just section. It's just such a cool way of ending it for Batman and Andrea. Like, they both have a really cool, like, bittersweet ending with both of them kind of just... They both kind of just know they're broken and that they're just kind of destined to be alone. And, like, a really cool thing is just Andrea's, like, final quote where, she's, like, on the she's, like, on the edge of this boat, and this guy... Because, you know, she like, runs away. But, and this guy comes up to her, and he's just like, I'm sorry, do you want to... Or he says, hey, how are you? And then says, oh, I'm sorry, do you want to be alone? And she just kind of, like, stares off into the water and just says, I am. And he's just like, oh, okay. And then movie just ends with Batman sitting on top of a building, like, kind of, you can tell, kind of thinking about her, but then, like, sees the bat signal, and he just knows. I kind of added just one little note at the end of here, and I said, that's how you end a Batman movie, me staring into the screen. So you can take that as it is. But
okay, I didn't pick up on that. So
I don't know. That was my note, was that's how you end a Batman movie. But all right. I'm looking at something. But yeah, so anything else you wanted to add on to it? I kind of just wanted to gush about Mask of the Phantasm. I freaking love that movie. I could talk about it anytime.
It was gross. No. No, I mean, it's solid movie. I don't think I can add anything to it. Animated series and just anything related to it will probably always be my favorite, just, iteration of Batman. But just going back, I mean, I am still excited about seeing the new movie.
I'm excited for you. I hope you watch it.
Yeah. So maybe we can have a more in-depth spoiler discussion if I ever get around to sacrificing 3 hours of my life to see it. So.
No, we can. So yeah, that was my favorite Batman movie. What did you want to take some time to talk about your own?
We can. I mean, I know we've been talking about Batman for a while, so it doesn't need to be a big conversation. Honestly, I don't know if I have a favorite Batman movie. Like,
is this more of a nostalgic pick rather than a favorite?
Yeah, like, I know you were asking which one I'd want to talk about.
I figured you would choose The Dark Knight, but...
And here's the thing, out of all the Batman movies, I think you hear this come up a lot. That's probably the best movie with Batman in it. Like, what they did with that movie was great. I mean, the plot was great, the acting was great, Ledger was great. But I think what always kind of takes me out of that movie a little bit is it's not a Batman movie. It's a Joker movie, which, don't get me wrong, it's great for what it is, but I feel like that for a lot of, Nolan's movies. Like, Batman Begins a little less so. That definitely had more of a Batman focus, as it probably should.
I would, not to cut you off, but I've tried to rewatch The Dark Knight a few times lately, and it just, I don't know. I feel like my liking for it has gone down. I actually feel like Begins is my favorite out of the three Nolan movies, but sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, and I don't disagree with that. I don't know. I go back and forth on the Nolan, trilogy. The third one definitely, I'd put down at the lower end. But as far as Begins versus Dark Knight, I kind of go back in between. But even with that said, like, I don't know if there's any one thing about those movies that are my favorite Batman anything besides just the Joker being really good in those movies. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Bale as Batman. He was fine.
He was just fine. Yeah.
Like, his Bruce Wayne was okay. His Batman was just kind of there, like he was a suit more than anything else. I mean, he was cool to watch, and I like what they did with, the evolution of the character and his suit and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know, I didn't care about Bale a whole amount. And I guess for me, if I'm thinking about any of the other Batman movies out there, once again, it's going back to nostalgia, because, I was like watching this movie at the same time I was watching animated series, Batman Forever, which people, honestly, I feel like people have taken a little more favorably over recent years. I mean, there was definitely a big, a push a while back that this movie is garbage, just kind of fall into that. That was still Schumacher, wasn't it? That was like his first one? Yeah, his first one.
He did that in Robin.
And, there's definitely plenty of Schumacher all over that movie. It wasn't quite as, oh man, I'm trying to think of the politest way to say this. It didn't go nearly as far as Batman and Robin did with some of the Schumacherisms, but Being a kid for one, I look at a lot of that stuff, the cheesy, corny factor, a little more favorably because it was fun back then. And I will say that's what the Batman movies have lost to a certain extent. Like people always want to take Batman to the super dark, broody kind of character because that is at his core. But think back to the Adam West Batmans. Like there is camp built into the foundations of Batman, and I feel like this movie tries to find a balance between that. Like the Burton movies took a very different take, kind of a twisted, dark route to it. A little bit of camp, but not much. I feel like Schumacher tried to bring it into that, I don't know, cartoony world a little more with the neon.
I think that's what I liked about the Batman is it definitely gets. I'm sure there's people that disagree. I think it was a little bit more lighthearted, maybe not quite as much as like the Schumacher movies, but like it at least wasn't as like realistic.
Like the new one was lighthearted?
No, not wholly, but
it's not as grounded.
It's just not as grounded as the Dark Knight. Like it definitely gets kind of out there, and some of the people feel a little bit more cartoony, which I actually like. In some aspects, like the Penguin feels a little more cartoony. The Riddler feels a little bit more ridiculous. I don't know. Go ahead, sorry.
No, it's fair. And I said I can't really sit here and make a big case for Forever being a good movie. I mean, I'm sure I haven't watched it in a couple of years.
I just watched it last night.
I'm sure I'd pick it apart. But it was fun. Even when I watched it a few years ago, even though I knew at the time this was not like a good movie, it was a fun movie.
It's fun. Yeah, it's a really cool watch.
Like it's colorful when it needs to be. I'll tell you, I love Jim Carrey as the Riddler. I know he's over the top for a lot of people.
He is the absolute best part of that movie.
He chews up the scenery, man. Honestly, the worst part of that movie for me is anything with freaking Two-Face in it.
Two-Face?
No, yeah, freaking
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes, and don't get me wrong, I love Tommy Lee Jones, but he was so miscast for that movie.
Okay, so I have a couple big problems with Two-Face. One, he acts too much like the Joker, which
he wasn't Two-Face at all. Like what's the way to say this? The characters in the Schumacher movies are exaggerated. Like Carrey's Riddler is Riddler times 1,000, right? But this Two-Face didn't feel like an elaborate or expanded version of Two-Face. He just felt like a completely different character.
But if you think about it, you could make the case that fits the Riddler maybe being that ridiculous. Two-Face is supposed to be a district attorney. He's not supposed to be ridiculous. He's supposed to be like was a professional person. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, it's fine. I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, they didn't know how to use that character. You're right. They kind of wanted to make him a Joker sometimes. They were trying to make him compete with Carrey. Because here's the thing. If you tried to play Two-Face closer or straighter to probably how you'd expect that character to be, he is going to be, like, every scene he's in just overpowered by Jim Carrey.
There's no competing with Jim Carrey, though.
Yeah. I remember reading plenty of stories about how Tommy Lee Jones hated Jim Carrey. I remember his famous quote. It was I don't know if he walked out on one of the scenes, but it was like after they did one of their scenes together, he turned to Jim Carrey and said, "I can't sanction your buffoonery," and then charged off the set, which is such a Tommy Lee Jones thing to say. So I just find that interesting.
It just seemed like such a strange casting. I feel like if. I shouldn't say strange.
Here's the thing, too. He didn't need to be in the movie. Like, it wasn't just a bad cast, but you could have had that same movie probably play out better without Tommy Lee Jones at all. I mean, I think his only impact he really had was, taking out Robin's family, Chris O'Donnell. But that could have played out.
You could have had any mob boss. You could have had Maroni or, any mob boss do that.
So Two-Face was kind of wasted there, but Carrey, really solid. And I do like Kilmer. Once again, it's probably
I said that earlier. I like Kilmer as Batman. I thought he was good.
His Batman is kind of boring. His Bruce Wayne, though, is not bad. Like, he's kind of that, kind of charmer, kind of like subdued billionaire. But it worked well. They definitely tried to do a little bit with the Bruce Wayne character, how he tried to, for a while he was giving up Batman. He's like, I can be Bruce Wayne. Honestly, it was kind of a similar story arc from Mask of the Phantasm. It was like, I can be happy too. I can have both worlds,
Well,
and then realize he can't. Well, actually, I guess at the end he's like, I can be both. I can be Batman and Bruce Wayne. But
a really cool aspect that they play with the movie is I don't like her character, but it's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool having her in there as like a psychotherapist, or is that what? Yeah, it's really cool having her in there because it's really just interesting to see her kind of like analyze Bruce Wayne and analyze Batman whenever she's around them. Because again, to wear tights and go around and beat people up, you'd have to be a pretty broken, questionable individual. So it's really cool to see her like dealing with Bruce and like, because there's a really cool scene where there's a what is it? No, not the doll. Well, that too. But there's a really cool scene where Bruce goes into her office and on the wall there's a Rorschach thing, and he goes up.
It was the same scene. Like he picks up the doll and he sees the Rorschach painting. Maybe I'm thinking something different.
Yeah, no, that's the same scene. I'm just saying, like I like the part where he sees the Rorschach painting and he says, "Oh, you got something for bats?" And she's like, "No, that's a Rorschach painting," meaning,
you got bats on the brain. Man.
You got bats on the brain. Yeah, so it's really cool. Like, sorry, I just wanted to add that.
I think I probably feel it more now in recent viewings, but I'm pretty mixed on her character. Like, I like those scenes with her and Bruce. Honestly, I think those are probably the best like character moments in that whole movie, was seeing them interact and kind of look at the psychology of Bruce Wayne versus Batman.
She's really,
at the same time, I hated her when she was all
she's
fanboying over Batman.
Yeah, seeing her get all hot and bothered and like
that was extreme. I didn't really
need that's a good thing to bring up. Like, yeah, it's very like she puts up the bat signal and just shows up there like half nude.
Ready to get it on. Yeah, it was a little much. So yeah, I mean that movie, once again, I can't sit here and argue it was a good movie. There was plenty of miscasting and like weird character arcs in there, but I will always say I think it was fun. It was definitely a movie that was made to sell toys for sure, because I had most of them as a kid.
I just thought about it. Something I didn't like about it is I very much disliked the Chris O'Donnell character. I know he's Robin, but like Bruce Wayne, he adopted like a 30-year-old man? Like what?
Yeah, I mean they were. Yeah, I mean I don't hate Chris O'Donnell as Robin. I mean, he was fine for that world, but yeah, it was definitely a very older take for Robin. Like, it didn't feel like the Dick Grayson Robin, even though I know that's one he was playing. It probably felt like, oh man, what was the not Jason Todd?
There's Jason Todd, Richard something.
Oh, there's another one.
You don't have to try and remember.
I'm not going to. Either way, he felt like he was a different Robin, just straight up. I mean, he had the Dick Grayson name, but that
Jason
was
Todd, the one that gets kidnapped and beaten up by the
that's
Joker?
Red Hood. Yeah. But regardless, I mean, I enjoy it for what it was. I thought it was fun, and I do like that every once in a while. Not every movie has to be this, super introspective, perfectly crafted masterpiece, which I know is kind of what everybody's kind of looking at this new Batman movie to be like.
That movie is so funny.
Like, it's just kind of funny. It's fun. It's definitely something that you want to turn your mind off a little bit towards. I know some people hate that phrasing. I'm not saying you have to, ignore plot holes and stuff, but enjoy it for what it is. I think you can go into that with a more favorable mindset than you can with Batman and Robin. Like, there's far more issues, I think, with that movie from a structural standpoint, a character standpoint, that's harder to watch that movie and enjoy it. I think, at least in Forever, there's a thread of a decent movie in there and some decent acting. Yeah, I think that, that elevates it some, to where I think at least I have a favorable opinion on it looking back, 20 some odd years.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll leave it at that.
I think Forever is a much more respectable Batman film than Batman and Robin. I'm not going to go into Batman. We could do a whole episode on...
He is probably the worst Batman. George Clooney.
The Ice Age. George Clooney. I think the problem with George is like he just didn't seem like he gave two licks about being there. Like he just seemed like George was too cool for school, Well,
he played George Clooney. I mean, it wasn't George Clooney playing Batman. It was just Batman was George Clooney.
I think the problem is there was not a single good casting in that movie. If you
The
really
only thing that would keep me going in that movie was Arnold, man. I'm not saying he was good casting,
and he
but
sucked. He's just funny because he's Arnold, though.
and that's all it was.
I
mean,
shouldn't
at
say he
least got
sucked. He
some
just
good,
wasn't.
memes out of the thing, but
It's just I'm just like thinking on that movie. There's not one good casting. Uma Thurman, not great. Whatever they did to Bane in that movie, not great. Like, I don't know.
yeah. Anyways, we've been talking about Batman for like an hour and a half now.
Oh yeah, sorry. So I knew that one would kind of go on a little bit longer. These other ones will go a little bit quicker for you guys.
You know, we say that every week.
We say that every
and
week.
We talked like 3 hours, and I'm going to blame you this time. It was all about your gushing.
Well, here you go. I'm making you happy. Let's move on to topic numero dos. So let's move over to Chrome. So if you don't know, me and Phoenix are big Halo fans. Well, depends on which game we're talking about. But me and him recently, when Halo Infinite came out, we were pretty big on it. We played some of the multiplayer for a bit, played the campaigns. But if you, how long would you say we've been away from it now for? Probably a month and a half, 2 months?
Or longer than that. I finished my Battle Pass way back when. I was trying to hop back in when they had those, the Tenrai events.
January sometime, we totally started dropping
I have not played, I'm sure, since early February.
I'm probably around the same time, maybe? I don't know. But, I mean, before the game launched, there was kind of something we all knew. We all knew there would be, what was it? I don't remember when, but they told us there would be no Forge and there would be no campaign co-op. Mm-hmm. And they told us that we were going to be expecting that with the game's Season 2 update. And
well, just to be clear, they said the campaign co-op would come with Season 2. Forge
that's right. Forge was later.
Anticipated for 3.
Good correction. That's why you're here. You set me straight.
I tried.
But
I'm
yeah,
not a fan of misinformation.
But yes, so we were expecting campaign co-op with the May sometime around update. But I guess just kind of leading up to that, Halo's not having a great time right now. I think they said the numbers. I should have looked up the numbers before doing this, but apparently the numbers are not great. They're not. I think I heard the game is like I think it was like 25 around. In terms of Steam numbers for how many people are playing. But basically, kind of one thing to start out with is Halo's Infinite's multiplayer lead leaves 343 Industries. So that's, you're pretty knowledgeable about how games are made. Does that seem like a good sign for a game, Phoenix?
You give me way too credit. I've worked on like half an indie game project that went almost nowhere.
Oh, you're a smart guy.
It's never good to see anybody from a lead position step down, but here's the thing. Most of the, structural aspects of Halo Infinite's multiplayer
was already done. Yeah, I was going to say, already finished.
Just because this guy's now left, it doesn't mean all of a sudden, the game's going to play terrible. Like, clearly he spent the last 3 years, hopefully, guiding the game to the direction it is now, which I know not everybody agrees, but overall I think people have a pretty favorable feeling about how the multiplayer is at right now, barring, some features and some content, stuff like that. So, I guess there's the potential disappointment that this guy can't lead it into a different direction that might be favorable, but here's the thing, once you get that core gameplay, you're not going to be tweaking that too much, right? Mm-hmm. As long as everybody's happy with where it's at, I'm trusting that 343 and whoever they hire to fill on this guy's shoes, they'll be able to come up with some new directions, add on content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So it's he did the framework, but as far as like content based things, he probably has no hand in.
Oh, I'm not saying that. Here's I have no idea. If he was lead MP designer, that means he probably has hands in all of it. But I guess my point is, the game is already baked at that level, right? That was the one thing everybody loved about this game when it came out. Multiplayer was good. They can make more content. I'm not saying this guy being there kind of, helped that process, but I'm confident 343 can put out some other good content, probably without this guy there. The bones are good, at least from a multiplayer standpoint, so, they're not acting like this was some big, hostile resignation or anything. Like, some people, they serve a role, and they're like, okay, I'm done with that. I want to do something else with my career, and they move on. I haven't read real deep into maybe some other, auxiliary reports on this, so maybe there is some, controversy about why he left. But at least the article that I see and what I read, it all seems like pretty, amicable stuff. He wanted to move on, take a break, and go on. It was probably stressful the past 3 years.
What I think, you kind of, that kind of hits what I was going to say is that what I think a lot of people are reading into about his statement right here, Mr. Andrew Witz, is basically a lot of people are looking straight at this part where he says, going to take some time off to relax and recharge, but I'm excited about what's next. So a lot of people are kind of taking away that perhaps things are pretty stressful behind the scenes, which that's not a stretch to imagine at any, major multiplayer game dev.
Oh, no, I mean, from everything that I see from articles and a little bit of knowledge I have from testimonials and whatnot.
He's probably been crunching nonstop.
Yeah, game development is super stressful, super high expectations, and they just went through one of the biggest high-profile releases probably in the past couple of years.
While going through a pandemic.
Yeah, so I'm sure this guy has not had exactly the cakewalk the past few years, and especially being in a lead position like that, a lot of weight on his shoulders, I'm sure. So, at least from my experience with the game, I enjoyed the multiplayer. If he really played a heavy hand in it, then I say kudos to this guy. Enjoy your break. So,
yeah. And I guess that's just one thing. I mean, again, leading back into the other story that we were gonna get into is another kind of thing that we're stepping into is now it's kind of seeming as if the campaign co-op is going to get delayed even further. Where it says Halo modes could be a ways off. Halo 343 Industries previously said the co-op and the Forge mode wouldn't arrive until May 2022 at the earliest, but now the Halo community is dealing with the confirmation that the campaign co-op and Forge won't be there when Season 2 drops. So now that's kind of saying that, again, if that's not going to... Season 2's May, I mean, I should have looked it up. When did they say when that Season 3 was supposed to come out?
They haven't. And, I mean, there's no way to really gauge it. I mean, I remember way back when, or I feel like I remember, they had mentioned that Season 1 was going to be longer, just because, I think they were just getting the game out. They needed some room to kind of figure things out.
It's going to be holiday? Dude, that would be crazy.
I would imagine a little sooner than that, but probably not by a huge amount. Like, I don't know. We won't really know that. I don't really want to go overly speculative on that, but
I'm out. I'm sorry. Like, I cared about campaign co-op, but it's going to be such a long time frame in between. It's going to be.
Here's the thing. I mean, regardless if they had put out campaign co-op when the game released or not, I probably would have already stopped playing the game regardless. Because here's the thing. So I would have probably enjoyed the campaign co-op. But my big thing, and I talked to you about this too, I was really disappointed it wasn't there when the game launched. Like, my fondest memories of Halo are getting together with 4 buds, midnight released, and knocking through Legendary together. The fact that I couldn't do that this time with campaign, I don't know. It suffered for me a little bit. I enjoyed the campaign for what it was, but I would have liked it a lot more with my friends back then. I mean,
well, they created this big giant open world. Like, it was like the game seemed like it was chomping at the bit to have multiple people in there. It was wide open and stuff.
Well, and here's the thing. It's not like they don't realize that, too. I mean, it's not that... Because they are adding the co-op. They understand that. And I'm not going to try to, downplay any technical issues they're having, because I'm sure there are some. Granted, I know some other games do it, but still, every game is a little different, so I'm not going to read into that too much. But here's the thing. Like, I don't think I personally was ever going to really come back and be real big on playing the campaign co-op after the initial release. Like, I'm sure you probably could have convinced me at some point if you really wanted to play it. Oh, let's go run back through the campaign. But I played the campaign to death now. I did my lasso achievement. I've gotten everything in that game pretty much except for like the elimination achievement, which I don't think you can even get yet. So I'm good. Like, the way I play games, I try to beat them as much as I can within that 2 or 3 month release window, and then I'm out. And honestly, I don't know how much... I'm sure here's the thing. This is very disappointing for the community who wants this campaign co-op, because they're just chomping a bit for more content. But I think rather this had dropped, back when the game launched or dropped now, you would have seen a similar issue with player drop-off in general. I think the bigger issue is less the campaign co-op being delayed and Forge being put out so long. Because Forge is the content maker, right? You won't have to wait on 343 to put out new maps. You can go make them yourself.
Forge is probably the biggest thing you had that would bring recurrent people back.
Yes, like I mean, granted, I
other than a
definitely
great
think that
multiplayer with plenty of content, but
well, sure, yeah. But I mean, that honestly should be the priority, I think, over campaign co-op. I know
at
that's
this
probably
point, yeah. At this point, yeah.
well, because the game needs content. I know they're talking about they're going to drop a few maps, but it doesn't seem like there's that many maps they're bringing in season 2. They need this community-enabled content creation machine that Forge is going to offer them. So, I mean, honestly, that should have been back, I think, a launch feature for sure, or at least by now. The fact that Forge isn't going to be happening till season 3, which could be, late summer, early fall, I don't know. It's really hard to say. I'm not saying there's no way of coming back from this game. They definitely have plans to support this game for, what did they say, like 10 years or something. So they'll probably pull back some of their community at a certain point, but they're never going to have those numbers I think they used to have. At least not without a real big push, some real big content. Maybe like a big DLC pack will bring people back, but I don't know. It is disappointing. I feel for those in the community. I've never been like huge long-term community member for any of the Halo games. I always plan for a few months and I fall off, but for those who like playing a Halo game for years and years and years, I feel for them because there's nothing really to do in that game right now except, grind for nothing. Like once you get to level 100 in that multiplayer, there's literally nothing. So
Yeah.
it's sad.
I guess just one other quick thing I just wanted to look at was, just a quick quote from Paris Lilly, who, if you guys don't know Paris Lilly, he's kind of a contributor, or was a contributor to some IGN content. And I think now he's more tied to Kind of Funny, which if you don't know, Kind of Funny is what's that Greg Miller, yeah, more of the Greg. He does a lot of content with Greg Miller, but basically his quote just kind of summarizes couple good points. He just says, "Didn't think I'd be saying this, but here's the truth: Halo Infinite should have been delayed to lessen the gap for future content. Lack of campaign co-op, lack of Forge, lack of multiplayer modes, battle pass issues. Strong launch, but this season is simply too long." Just his 2 cents. And
I don't know if I agree with that. Here's the thing, like Microsoft, they needed that big publicity boost, I think, back then. Like they had got a lot of traction because of it. Like if they would have delayed it, like would he want them to delay the game till all those features are done, meaning it releases this fall? Here's the thing, this fall you're gonna have God of War coming out. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have Breath of the Wild 2 coming out. Like I would not want to release my game there.
I should have rephrased. I agree with him that I think that should have happened. I'm not agreeing with him that that's what... Like, I agree with you. We think we've talked about it. Like, Microsoft launched this when basically they had to launch it. Like, I don't think they could have waited any longer than they could have.
It was already delayed a whole year. They needed a big game from that. I know they had, Horizon, but I think they needed a Halo. And honestly, it went over really well. Most people had a very favorable experience with the campaign. The multiplayer was good. Like, yeah, the game had issues, but compared to some of the other games that are out there, it was no Battlefield 2042. We talked about that a few weeks ago. So, yes, it would have been great to have all those features. It is disappointing they're not there. And I'm not saying that, they shouldn't have tried to get those features, if at all possible, to launch with the game, but they would have had a drop-off in interest of this game regardless. Even if the game had released, 100% packed up. I don't think you'd be having a huge amount of people playing campaign co-op right now. I mean, the game's been out for, 4 or 5 months? Something like that? So people are already probably past the initial honeymoon phase with the game regardless. Forge would have been the only thing, I think, to really keep people going. So
luckily for them,
focus needs to be.
Luckily for them, what'll keep this PvP strong for a long time is the fact that it's free to play. That's ultimately, that's going to keep people coming back for a long time. I think
it's always going to help, but there's a lot of other free-to-play games out there, man, that are dropping more content. That is the one thing that I don't want to give them a whole lot of pass for. Like, it's one thing if, you're having an issue getting campaign co-op, you're having an issue getting Forge, but you need to be dropping some more maps, man.
I agree.
Maps are... and once again, this is coming from maybe not understanding all the inner workings of what they're going through, but maps aren't that hard to make. I mean, it's not like the maps I think they have in there right now are overly inspired or anything. They're fun, but I feel like there's definitely ways they could have dropped some maps in there to give some people, some more content to play with. You look at a game like Fortnite, they're dropping new content all the time. Apex Legend all the time, stuff like that. And those are free-to-play games. And just because it's free-to-play doesn't mean you're going to stick around in a free-to-play game that isn't giving you constant updates. And Halo's just not doing that right now. So regardless if it's free to play or not, those numbers are going to keep on tanking until they get a better, feed of content, not a drip feed, like a constant feed of content that's always coming out with new maps, new modes, new whatever. So, but I don't think we'll see that till Forge and everything's actually put out there.
So I mean, I didn't have too much notes for this article, but I just a couple questions. I guess I'll bring up, like, just like, where does Halo go from here? Like, or at least where does Halo Infinite go from here? Like, if
DLC.
If you're gonna have to wait that long for those modes, like, yeah.
Here's the thing, like,
you have to,
the game. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I
was just saying, like, you need to get content out now, like.
Yeah, but here's the thing: people are going to come back when they put out a DLC pack. Like, they have from what I read, now I'm aware where it's at now, so maybe I'm misquoting, but they want this game to go a long time, 10 years or so. So they're probably using this first year or so as some growing pains to establish that foundation, which, yes, would have been great if it would have been there, but, this is where we're at right now. Once they do get Forge there, and they can open it up to, drop some big DLC packs, not just like multiplayer DLC, like some story DLC, some expansion kind of stuff. They'll bring people back, people will play it for a while, they'll leave, and then come back again. I'm curious how much Microsoft is really kind of maybe leaning this game a certain direction, because Microsoft, I think, is okay with you, play a game for a little while, then go play something else, and then come back. Like, they have a lot of games. I don't think they need to lock you into just one game. I'm sure they're not going to complain if that's the case, but that's kind of the whole attitude with something like Game Pass, right? Like, okay, play this one game for a while. Oh, you're tired of it? Okay, here's another game. Tired of that one? Here's 300 other games. So they have other things to drive the engagement on their platform. So I think they're probably okay letting Halo have times where it kind of falls back a little bit and then has a resurgence. So when Forge comes out, that's going to be a resurgence. When they get an expansion pass or DLC, resurgence. So I don't think this is all doom and gloom for Halo by any means. It is disappointing that this is where we're at. But the people who enjoy Halo will come back when Halo stuff comes back. So I don't know. Once again, I'm not worried about the future. I'm just going to go play some other stuff for a while. And I'm sure other people are going to be the same. Like, I've been busy lately, but whenever I get some time on my schedule, Horizon is on my Horizon. I keep using that.
I know.
And then we're going to talk about the PlayStation State of Play in a minute. There's a game in there I'm very excited to get back into.
Oh, I know. I have that. Yep.
And there's just a slew of other things. And granted, I mean, there is the issue that you're going to lose some players who will just never come back. They'll find something else they're interested in. But I am still, at my core, a Halo fan. When they put out new content and I get a break, I'll come back. And I'm certainly not going to be alone. So, once again, not doom and gloom. A little disappointing, but, it will survive. Pretty confident.
I will say the one thing I kind of liked about Halo's PvP is that maybe that's not a good thing to them, but I like that I didn't get as attached to it as, like, Destiny. Like, it feels like a game where, like, then, like you said, the next time a big drop happens or something, I can go right back in and still enjoy it and then still easily get right back out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Halo probably could have done what Destiny did, or really any of those live services, but they had such a terrible model set up for the way, like, their progression system was and their store and all of that. Like, nothing about their model incentivized you, really. It all felt very just kind of money grubby, anti-consumery. And don't get me wrong, Destiny, when we used to play it a lot, definitely had some of that too with their, was it silver? Was that what the currency is? The whatever the little
Destiny?
store was?
Was it Glimmer?
Yeah. The Glimmer, no, the Glimmer was the money.
Glimmer was
you had to buy
money.
silver. The Eververse, that's what I was thinking of.
Eververse, yeah.
Which I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. I haven't played Destiny in a while. Sorry, anybody who's a Destiny fan.
We're old men, old Destiny men at this point.
But my point being, I mean, they both had, anti-consumer money grubby practices, but Destiny, for one, it's a different type of game.
We're old Guardians. Old Guardians.
Yeah. My point, it had a progression hook that would keep you going. It always was feeding you something, some reward.
Them dailies.
Halo didn't do that.
Them dailies.
Yeah. So, I don't know. As I said, I'll be back to Halo one day for whatever they drop. But honestly, I'd probably be more interested in whatever kind of story expansion they drop. And maybe then I would want to give the campaign co-op another shot with some new content. But until then.
Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and push us on through. We're looking at almost an hour 20. So, hey.
We never end these short.
I know. We got one more topic, though, and I figured let's spend like 15, 20 minutes on it.
We're doing it for the content. We're doing it for the views.
So let's go ahead and switch over to our final topic, which There's a little bit of meat on this bone. Not, I definitely don't think it was quite as large and gigantic as other people thought. Giggity. Yeah, Sony's State of Play, which was yesterday.
I think it was the day before, March 9th. We're on the 11th.
Was it the day before? Oh yeah, March 9th. Oh, dude.
As I said, I'm all about not spreading misinformation, man. I'm gonna get on you.
When you're a content creator and working full time just flies by.
I create my own content, so I'm just saying.
But yeah, so this happened, and I figured, hey, we'll go through it. We'll just kind of give our thoughts and opinions on kind of each thing that happened. I will say a little side topic that I would like to bring up, side subject, is a lot of people, there's a lot of discourse going on right now about the constant disappointment whenever an event like this happens. And I felt like that would be an interesting kind of subject to bring up to you about expectations whenever these little tiny events come out, because I feel like companies like Sony and Nintendo, they generally, when they announce these things, they generally have like a disclaimer saying what's to be expected, what is going to be in these events. And like, I swear the discourse on Twitter and other places for this event before it happened was like, yo, freaking Konami, Silent Hill. Yeah, Silent Hill is getting announced. Sony just bought Konami, you know what I mean? It's like...
Well, you're always going to have, the people who are, whatchamacallit, spreading some false news and whatnot out of false leaks and all that.
There's so much excitement for an event where Sony came out and said, we're just talking about Japanese-made games.
People just always still have in their mind that whenever you get news from a publisher or some kind of platform like this, they're looking for this E3 scale event. But I think people are maybe not realizing or haven't been paying attention over the past, year and a half, 2 years.
E3 hasn't happened.
Well, it's not just about that, but companies have changed. Even when E3 was a thing, they've realized, okay, the internet is a platform where we can just put out information whenever we want. We don't need a big stage.
You
don't
need
to wait till the summer. I think people feel like, okay, so they're doing the State of Play, which, to be fair, that sounds like a big important name, right? The State of Play kind of address kind of deal. But really, it's just a little mini advertisement for stuff that's about to come up for Sony. That doesn't mean you're not going to see information about God of War or maybe a Silent Hill or something like that, but they can drop that information whenever they want. Like, this State of Play, they announced 2 days before they actually were going to do it, so they didn't even try to hype it up. They're like, okay, get ready, we're going to give you some announcements, and bam, there it is. Nintendo did the same thing a few weeks ago. They all know that they can just drop information whenever they want. So people need to definitely gauge their expectations down several notches, maybe 100 notches, I don't know. Not every one of these videos is going to be E3 level major announcement kind of stuff. So
I just found... No, go ahead. Sorry, finish up.
No, that's it. That's all I was going to say.
Oh, I was just going to switch over. I just found this little thing here underneath the video that I was going to bring up. But let's see. It says, note, we won't have any updates on PlayStation VR titles or hardware in this broadcast. The show is around 20 minutes, give or take, with the focus of highlighting games from beloved Japanese publishers, though we will have a few updates from devs around the world. So clearly within this description of this video, they're already setting expectations.
People love to read into things, and there are those exceptions, where they have little Easter eggs, and they do have big announcements out of nowhere. That's what people that's what the gaming community wants. They thrive on those moments, and don't be wrong, those are cool community moments. But to expect those to be in every little tiny update video that's posted by Nintendo, Microsoft, or Sony just isn't really reasonable.
All right, so let's go ahead and start. So this first game, I remember seeing, it's called
Dino Crisis 2022.
That's what a lot of people were expecting. They were expecting some sort of Dino Crisis game, and it ended up being called, what is this, Exoprimal, which it looks kind of weird.
I'm digging it, man.
You watched the event? I didn't even know if you watched it or not.
I skimmed through it. I didn't watch it live, but I've gone back and I've watched all the trailers for everything.
So this one looks weird.
It's silly looking, man, but a lot of people are comparing it to Earth Defense Force. Have you ever played that?
I've heard of the games.
It's basically Starship Troopers, just hordes of crazy giant insects from space that you're taking out. and it's just a little mindless and a little goofy, and it's kind of awesome. So
this lady right here ticked people off apparently because
she looks like
the Dino Crisis lady. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks kind of weird though, like dinosaurs just kind of popping in through some black hole or something, and there's just like constant wave. It looks almost like a futuristic Dynasty Warriors game, just with dinosaurs. I guess.
I mean, I am gonna have to reserve judgment until I play it. It could be terrible. It kind of reminds me of like those old kind of like B, C tier games, like the 360, PS3 days, or like a PS2 kind of game. Like it's not one of those major big releases, but it's one of those fun games that you'll get together with buddies and just let's go blow up some crazy dinosaurs for a while. And I don't know. Games don't have to always be these huge, giant, epic things. Just they got to be fun. I think that's one thing that I find with a lot of games is they try to be more than what they really need to be. Like, I just want to play a game for a few hours, enjoy whatever gameplay loop they've got, and then move on. Now I know when a game's $60, $70, it's harder to make that argument, but who knows? Maybe this game will be like a $40 budget title. Not that I'm holding my breath, but hey, that'd be cool.
I don't know if Sony's been known to do that.
Jumping ahead, one of the games at the very end is technically $40, and that surprised a lot of people. So
is it really? Oh,
yeah. We can talk about it in a minute, though.
Yeah. So I guess there's Exoprimal. Let's move on to the second one. Let's see. So we got an update on Ghostwire Tokyo. I've seen that this game has been shown a lot. So I mean, I guess this is just a new one that they're just like reminding people, hey, this game's coming out soon. If you don't know,
have any interest in this game?
I did have interest in it before I knew stuff about it because initially a lot of people thought it was more of a survival horror game. And now everyone kind of knows it's some weird ghost-oriented, just like hand movement combat game, which is kind of interesting. I'm not quite sure if I like that or not, but
it's really hard to gauge the gameplay from these trailers. Like, guys, I get the hand stuff, but I don't know. I can't get a feel for how the movement's going to be.
It almost looks like it's on rails. It looks like it's almost on rails.
It seems too smooth. And a lot of times when you have these overproduced kind of trailers, that's just a look you get because sometimes they're pre-manufactured in the engine, or they're trying to do very slow movements to really kind of set up a certain look for a moment in the game. So it's hard to read it. But yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it has a natural gameplay feel to it, at least from what I can tell from the trailers. It's just all about these visuals, which it looks wild.
If you can't tell, I'm not playing it full through because copyright, so I'm trying to be as choppy as I can.
Just rotate the image like 88 degrees and then flip it mirrored and turn it blue.
No,
I don't know.
I'm fine as long as audio's the more problem. As long as you have your audio down, generally you're fine.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
But not that I'm freaking making any money off of it. So if I got claimed, it wouldn't be a problem. But I guess kind of something really cool about this game is if you don't know, this is actually the last game made by Bethesda before their deal happened with Microsoft. So technically, this is a Microsoft published game that's exclusive on the PlayStation. And now this is the last one though. Because before it was what is that other game? Deathloop, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll probably do that same thing where it'll be like exclusive for like a year. I think that's what Deathloop was saying. They'll be exclusive for a year, then it'll pop up on Game Pass. So that's good to know. I think I knew that at some point. I had forgotten about it, so that'd be cool. I might wait then to play it on Game Pass unless I hear something incredible about it.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll come to Xbox because I think literally the last deal that got signed, was Deathloop in this game. An interesting thing is the lady that was behind this game was really popular. She was that kind of meme lady with the dancing at the 1E3.
Just started her new
studio, she just
right?
left the studio and just went and started her own, which is kind of interesting because now it's so what's up with this studio now? Whoever made this game, I don't know. But yeah, she was kind of the internet's favorite for a bit.
Yeah, people liked her a lot. I mean, I'll tell you, this game, it looks cool. I like the style. I mean, I'm big on Japanese aesthetic kind of stuff. So, I mean, I'm not disinterested in this game. It's one of those games I can't get a feel for yet. I'm gonna have to be hands on with this or see some real good gameplay reviews to have a good idea. You jumped to some Final Fantasy, I
I
think.
know. So yeah, we'll skip ahead since I already kind of let the cat out of the bag there. Why would you want to put the cat in the bag? I don't know.
Ooh, we're going a different direction, Chaz. Let's stick to the video games.
I just thought about that. Why would you put the cat in the bag?
Shh.
You put your cat in a bag. I'm sure you would.
Oh, don't know. All right, so Final Fantasy.
All right, so yeah, what game is this?
Isn't it Final Fantasy?
Let's let it play through. I don't know. I think this is the Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, what's it?
It's like Origin. Oh, here it is.
Stranger of Paradise. That's right.
Yeah, Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. From what
this was the Chaos thing, wasn't it?
I thought I heard something that this is a remake of the first game. Am I wrong?
Oh, I don't know.
I think that's what I heard.
Final Fantasy Origin name sounds alluding to that, but I don't know. That could just be a spin-off, like Origin of, I don't know, particular.
Maybe it has something to do with the first game. That's what I heard, is that it has something to do with the first game of some sort or something.
I don't know.
Ultimately, I'm not particularly interested. It's very like, it's just Final Fantasy has its own little thing. It's like kind of medieval mixed with like modern things and crazy dialogue. I don't know. I'm not particularly attached to Final Fantasies. I mean,
have you ever played through any of the Final Fantasies? Like from end to end? I know you got stuck on Sephiroth in 7.
I've played 7 and got to Sephiroth and couldn't beat him because I think I was underleveled. I've played which one was the MMORPG?
14.
14. Really liked that
14
one.
Was great. Yeah.
I played the newest one. What was it? 15.
15
was the one with the cup noodle, whichever one that was. That's about all I've played. I have a lot of them. I just support my channel, and maybe someday you'll get to see me play all these. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a weird relationship with Final Fantasy games. I usually enjoy most of them, but I very rarely am inclined to I really want to play this Final Fantasy game. I just somehow end up starting it for whatever reason, like starting a random Final Fantasy game, and once I've played a couple of hours, then I'm sucked into it.
I really like the older ones. I actually like the turn-based ones. I don't have time to start one,
You would actually because I actually played through 7 like this when I did my
I love 7. I can play the old version of 7 any day.
You should get the Switch version. It has a couple of cool little features to it where you can play the game. I think it's like double speed if you want. You can also, if you ever get underleveled, you can force infinite mana, a few other things, MP boost. It basically is like a cheat mode kind of thing built into the game. So if you're just playing it for the story, it does make the game kind of trivial, but let's kind of work through it without the hassle of having to grind and do stuff like that. I mean, you already said you played the game normally, so I definitely recommend that your first playthrough. But if you ever just want to revisit it, or if you're worried about getting stuck on Sephiroth again, you could just play the game normally up to that point. And if it kind of kicks your butt, you just boost on the extra upgrades, and you can just plow right through them.
I've kind of been wanting to play the remake at some point. I think I'm going to play that. It's really on PC now,
a lot of
isn't it?
Didn't.
It's on PC now, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I feel like I remember rumblings of that.
I'd much rather
I feel like I remember that, and the performance wasn't good.
Really? Oh.
I'd have to check. I could be. I don't want to speak out of place there, but.
All right, but yeah, once again, I don't particularly have much interest in Stranger of Paradise. I mean,
it'll be one of those things that I won't play until I do, and then I'll be sucked into it. So.
There's actually, that has nothing to do with Final Fantasy, but I've been really wanting to play Octopath. I have it on my shelf, and one of these days I'm going to start that game. Looks cool.
Yeah, I like the 2D retro aesthetic they're going for right now.
Alright, so yeah, let's move on. Let's see what else is next. So, Stranger's Paradise. Oh, so we got an update on Force. This one I'm very curious to ask. Are you excited for this game at all? This is the one that got delayed. They just announced last week.
I am not. I mean, I remember the initial trailer, and then I kind of missed the whole Discord where they're did they put out a second trailer that looked really bad or something? I remember it got really kind of dinged for a while in the community for a bit.
Just within this last few weeks, I think they said
it more gameplay or something
they said that it wasn't performing well because they actually let people get hands on. and apparently the impression from the hands-on people was not great. I think performance was not very
nothing
good.
about it's like hopping out at me. Like, it might be cool. It's one of those things that for me it's a very much wait and see. So I'm not disappointed by the delay necessarily. When it comes out, I'll watch some reviews and decide if it's for me or not. Like, I don't know. It kind of looks like, I don't know what it kind of looks like. A little bit of Final Fantasy 15. I don't know. I'm gonna have to play it. Maybe I'll like it. We'll see.
Yeah, I know it's got some weird like modern thing going on. Like, all this looks old, but then like she lives in like modern times or something. I don't know what the heck's going on with it. But yeah, me personally, I'm not particularly excited for. I mean, I don't have a PS5 right now, so how can I be excited for it? But yeah, it's.
Is it PS5 exclusive or is it PS4 too?
Let's see.
I feel like most of their stuff is cross-platform right now. I shouldn't say cross-platform, cross-gen.
Let's see what it says here. Un momento. Gave you nothing.
He will rise.
Rise, chicken, rise.
All right, sports spoken. All right.
But yeah, like I said, that game actually just recently got delayed. So now, don't expect that one until December. Or no, October. Why did I say December?
Yeah. Yeah, not really on my radar.
Let's see. So next is...
It said just PS5. I saw the
did
tag
it?
on it.
Did I miss...
Yeah, right there. PS5 exclusive. Yeah.
Interesting. So next, yeah, there is this weird Gundam Overwatch-looking game, Gundam Evolution, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Like Gundam Heroes kind of shooter. I've never been huge into Gundam. I watched, what was it on Toonami? What was it with like the little like
Gundam Wing
chibi looking?
No.
The way they were really.
Gundam Wing was like
they're really tiny.
I didn't watch the whatever one you're talking about.
Oh, what was it? There's like a little Gundam thing where they're like almost like chibi Gundams. Man, I don't remember. I remember Gundam Wing. I didn't get big into it, but there was another one.
I loved Gundam Wing, but I couldn't get into a lot of other Gundam-based stuff.
I gotta look up that Gundam chibi thing now. It's gonna drive me crazy. You can keep going. I'm sorry.
No, I mean basically it just looks like an Overwatch clone, just with Gundam-based stuff. Which, I don't know. I mean, I guess this would be more of a budget title. Like if it's $30-$40, like you were talking about earlier, this would be something I might want to play. But if it's
Superior Defender Gundam Force, that's the chibi Gundam.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a fan out there who just heard that. I was like, oh yeah, Superior Gundam Force. Whoa.
I don't remember, and I was a gigantic Toonami nerd back then.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was definitely on Toonami. SD Gundam was what they called it.
SD Gundam. I don't remember that.
You should look up the picture. Some boys.
Gundam Wing was the only thing I watched. So yeah, I'm not the best. I'm not the most reliable Gundam connoisseur.
Well, that's fair. Nor am I. I mean, this game looks all right. I'm sure if you're a Gundam fan, your interest is going to be piqued a little more than mine. It's going to come down to how well it plays. So I think until we get a chance to get hands-on with it, I don't know. Those hero shooters, I usually have a pretty short lifespan with. Like, I play them for a while, and then if there's not a class that really kind of speaks to me, I really kind of fall out of it. But this isn't really like a class-based shooter. It's a hero-based, so I don't know. We shall see. We shall see. This one I think is PS4 and PS5, though.
Where's it at? Right here? Nope. I don't know. Either way, I'm not particularly interested. I'm sure this is something like it's a very niche audience where I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that get into it. I think this seems like something our buddy Danny would like.
Maybe. I don't know if he's real big in a Gundam, but either way.
So let's move on to maybe mine or your second favorite thing that happened here. Let's see. What is it? It's going to be very pixelated. Whoa. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Cowabunga Collection. So
this is what I was saying. This is, from what I understand, not a full price release. It's only $40. So that's kind of awesome. And they're going to have physical releases. And what wasn't real clear, I think, from this, I mean, they were definitely trying to put, a PlayStation spin on it, but to my understanding, this is coming to Xbox, coming to Switch, it's coming to everything.
I was so happy.
I think you have it up in another tab. They probably give the information.
Right up here.
Yeah, I think I got that information from Spawn Wave. So if I'm wrong, wait, go back up. I think I saw it. Scroll up right above that picture right there. Keep going. All right.
Yeah, there it
Yeah,
is.
PlayStation 5, 4, X, 1, so everything.
Sweet.
Physical retail. Yep, $39.99.
We're definitely
So
buying
that's
that and playing Turtles in Time.
scroll down to the game list. So here's what I'm actually really excited about. Because when I heard this at first, I heard him say, okay, Turtles in Time, which is great. And then I heard him say specifically the arcade version, which I know for a lot of people that's their favorite. That is not my favorite. Mine is by
You like the
far the Super
SNES?
Nintendo.
Yeah.
So what I found really cool is this has both versions on it.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
you have Turtles in Time the arcade and Turtles in Time for Super Nintendo. And there for me there's be a real good argument for me to say that Turtles in Time is my favorite Super Nintendo game. Like I played that so much when I
Yeah.
was a kid.
Yeah, I know.
I went back between that and then like when I had my N64 it was like that and Star Fox back and forth
Mm-hmm.
so I am super excited about this. Did you ever play the I think it was a 360 arcade title. They did a remake of Turtles in Time, but it was like 3D.
I don't remember. I know the one you're talking about. I just don't remember if I forgot to play it.
Yeah, I remember playing that. I mean, it was okay. It was definitely missing some stuff. That one was modeled after the arcade version. But yeah, all I was thinking was, man, I wish they had just, straight up Turtles in Time with online multiplayer, and that sounds like exactly what
I'll
this
be
is gonna
happy to
be.
play a
So,
lot of these. I think the only ones I've played was Turtles in Time, SNES, and I think I might have played which other one do I think? I think Hyperstone Heist sounds
Hyperstone Heist
familiar.
was for the Genesis. Yeah, that one's very much like Turtles in Time. It was basically like they were released at the same time. If you had Super Nintendo, you got Turtles in Time. If you had Genesis, you got Hyperstone Heist. There's a lot of similarities there.
I haven't played a lot of these, so I'll be happy to go back and at least try them out.
Yeah, I can hear the sewer surfing theme in my head right now from Turtles in Time. Just, whew, good stuff, good stuff.
Yeah, so that seems exciting. I mean,
Question, what platform are you going to get it on?
Probably Switch.
Xbox?
Switch. Yeah.
I will probably get it. You know what? I'm probably going to get on a couple of them because I would
probably
imagine
will too,
for
yeah.
our friend group, PC is probably going to be the easiest for everybody to play on.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a go-to, and then I'll pick up a physical copy maybe on, I don't know.
I would be
Switch or
curious.
Xbox.
Are these built from the ground up or are these ports? I would assume they're ports, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't think they recoded any of these games or anything. They've got to be
Fantastic
ported
set of
over.
quality of life, including save time and rewind, button mapping, online play for certain games.
Yeah, not all games have online. I'm pretty sure Turtles in Time has online, and then like Hyperstone Heist, I think only has couch co-op. But I'll take what I can get in this case.
Did it? The titles with online functionality: TMNT Arcade, Turtles in Time Arcade. Oh, so Turtles in Time SNES does not have online functionality.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed about that, but I'll take what I can get.
So if we're gonna play Turtles in Time, it's only the arcade version.
Which all it is, there's like 2 extra levels or something like in the Super Nintendo version. A lot of people like the arcade version better, so I'd not a non-selling point or anything for me. I'm still super excited. So love the Turtles, man.
Alrighty, well, yeah. I mean, I figured that would be number 2, probably the most exciting thing we saw there. So let's see when we get to the numero uno. This is that Giga something. It's like a.
Oh yeah, it looks like the Godzilla War of the Monsters kind of thing. Or that looks cool.
This is one of the few ones I saw that I was actually like, I could kind of see me playing that for a little bit.
I'm a little sad it's not like a licensed Godzilla movie. Like I feel like that's a little bit of a missed opportunity.
Yeah, they're kind of just knockoff kaiju.
Yeah, so I'm sure that's gonna knock it down a notch or two, but it looks pretty cool.
I agree.
I'm curious if that is only gonna be PS4, PS5 though, or if that's gonna branch out to other systems. Because I don't know if I'm gonna jump on getting that on PS4, PS5. I want to get it on where all you guys have it on.
So then we'll move on. Let's see. Next one is this JoJo game, or whatever. It's just a fighting game, just in the style of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Which this isn't something I have a heck of a whole lot of understanding about. I tried watching the show and couldn't get into it. I think I watched the first season.
I'm about the same. I'm not really well versed in JoJo. Like, it's a interesting show, to say the least.
It's something our buddy Danny would know. a lot more about. I'm not a JoJo connoisseur.
I'm not a big fighting game guy. Not like I used when I was younger I used to, but it just takes a lot of time to really learn those styles of games. But for those who are big into JoJo, for what I can tell, they're digging what they see on this game. So good for them. I'm glad they're getting something they're looking forward to. Apparently, it's a remake. Like this was a game that came out a few years ago.
Oh.
Like that's what the R edition is to the name. It's like whatever the name of the game is, R edition. So it's a new re-release of a prior game.
Oh, that's
May not
interesting.
remake, but.
And let's see what else we got here. We got. Oh, this is that weird. Black and white. What is this? Oh, it's Trek to Yomi, I think.
It's just a Samurai Limbo.
That's what I. Oh, dude, you took my note right from my. I don't know if that's what I said. It was like.
I haven't even seen your notes.
That's what I said. It was like Samurai Limbo, basically. But yeah, I guess it's basically Ghost of Tsushima Limbo, maybe.
Yeah.
It looks very. What's those movies called? Oh, I forget the.
What's his name?
Yeah, it's that director's name that made a lot of those type of movies.
Yeah, I won't try to misquote him.
Me neither.
I mean, I always like games of this aesthetic. If it is anything like Ghost of Tsushima, which I'm not really sure if it's gonna be. I loved Ghost of Tsushima.
It has some mystical elements. Like there's this guy with missing a nose. It has some very mystical aspects of it, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, this could be cool. Once again, it's one of those games just gotta see a little more of.
Like these are ghosts or something? I don't know what the heck. Yeah, but basically Limbo Samurai. I guess we'll just move on. I don't know much about that one. Looks fairly interesting. Oh, here's your big one.
Oh yes.
Dun dun dun. So, oh yes. What's this game called again? I told you, my brain is starting to collapse.
Really, man? Really?
Oh, Returnal. It's Returnal DLC. So, you have to do your best to help me find a PlayStation 5 so we can play this together.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think there's a way I can describe this to you without you playing it. Because I think it's a game you would like. Man, I love this game so much. Like, I was very surprised how much I liked it. Last year was my game of the year, hands down.
Now, the thing I didn't... Oh, sorry, good.
No.
I didn't understand. Does this mean that... Is it just this expansion that's going to be campaign co-op, or is the entire game going to be...
No, so for what I understand, the whole base game is campaign co-op now.
Oh,
or they're going to add
cool.
that in the update. And then this new feature is just like kind of like an endless tower thing. So it's kind of just like, bragging rights, get as high as you can kind of deal. It's got a little bit of narrative built in there.
Test your might.
Yeah, all of it's free, which is really cool too.
Oh,
it's not a paid DLC. It's just an update they're going to release on the 22nd. You just have at it. So which is awesome.
Daily challenges are not available in co-op.
Yeah, that's just a feature of the game. You can do challenges after you get to a certain point.
Tower of Sisyphus.
Which I think is a cool thing because, I mean, this is one of those games I know people, I think, really got dissuaded with because it's not an easy game. It's not the hardest. I think some people gave up probably a little too early on it, but it's not like Hades where, like, you have a progression.
It's not like
even if you
Elden
only
Ring.
go, like... Well, no. I mean, this is a roguelike. If you're going to compare it to anything, Hades would probably be one of the closer titles. But whereas Hades rewards you, like, if you take 10 steps into a Hades run, you get something from it, basically. This game doesn't work quite that same way. To get that progression, you've got to get a little further, and you got to get good a little bit. Now, once the progression starts hitting, the game, gets a little more reasonable to work through. But it's tough, and I know that turned off a lot of people. So I think the co-op is a cool way to address that. Like, I'm glad they didn't just, slop a easy mode down, because I think that would have definitely neutered the game some. But a co-op mode that you can kind of work together with to get through some of those tough moments, I think would be a fun way to do it. I mean, the gameplay just this game is so solid. So, yeah, you need a PS5, man, if nothing else, to play this game.
Okay, so yeah, that's definitely a game I want to play with you at some point. So I'll have to put in some more effort to find a PS5. I'm always so busy at work, and it's hard during the day for me to like.
Oh, it's tough getting a PS5, man. I mean, the way I got mine, man, I was scouring different YouTube streamers that were telling you every time a drop was about to happen. I had like 10 tabs open. It was a nightmare. But I got him.
No. So yeah, we'll shoot. We're going on kind of long here. So yeah, let's kind of push it forward because I think we actually just touched on all the major stuff we cared about, really. Next up, we have this. This is the tactics game.
The one that kind of looks like Fire Emblem-ish.
Yeah, kind of. I know a lot of people thought it was a remake of Final Fantasy Tactics. Yeah, it's like.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying a lot of people were like, "Oh, this looks like Final Fantasy," but it's that Dia from something.
Yeah, I feel like Square Enix is just teasing people right now because like between putting stuff out like, did they put out Octopath? That was Square Enix, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
so
they're
like,
doing that triangle strategy game.
Yeah, between Octopath and Triangle Strategy and this, not that they're all strategy games. Like I know this one or the past one was, but it's like they are just like teasing that Final Fantasy Tactics crowd that wants that remake. I'm curious if they'll actually end up doing it. Maybe they're building up to it, or maybe this is just kind of their new reiteration of it. But I feel like if they're going to be kind of bringing on this renaissance of strategy games, why not capitalize on the Final Fantasy Tactics kind of homage that you already have? So I feel like that's coming at some point. Maybe
I've never played a tactics game, or I feel like I've tried a tactics game back on the PS1, and I just couldn't get into it. It might have literally been Final Fantasy Tactics for all I remember. But
I enjoyed Tactics. It was a long time ago. I liked they had a Game Boy one too. It was like Final Fantasy Tactics. Was this Tactics Advance?
Actually, I did try another one on the PSP. I don't remember which one it was.
Oh, I think I know which one you're talking about. Oh, it's like Lions something.
I don't remember. It's just not my bag.
Yeah, I mean they're slow. I gotta be in the mood for them. I don't play them nearly as much as I used to, but given the right mood, like time frame and like mood I'm in, I enjoy a good tactics game.
Yeah. And I guess we'll move. I think this is already the last one. This is that Valkyrie something.
Oh, yeah.
From what I understand, this is actually like a franchise. It's like the second or third title in this series.
Yeah, was it a Valkyrie? Was it Profile back on was the PS1?
Yeah, so this is like the second or third one.
Yeah, they've had like Valkyrie Chronicles, I think, and something else. Yeah, I think I have one of them. I'm trying to remember which one it is. I think it's Valkyrie. Sorry, I'm trying to look at my game shelf. I think it's Chronicles. I don't think I've ever played it though. And
it looks like a pretty. I mean, I don't say standard, but an action RPG.
Yeah, I don't have nostalgia kind of fanfare for this game, so I can't really speak to how good it plays.
I don't know. Kind of reminds me of like Devil May Cry or something.
Yeah, not quite as crazy as something like that, but
You still haven't played the newest Devil May Cry, have you?
I haven't played the past few Devil May Cry, man.
The new Devil May Cry is really good. It was like one of my favorite games that it came out that year.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll give it a shot.
I love that game.
I have so many games on my list, man. It's just not on my like top radar.
That was actually my first. I don't know if you know, but that was my first Devil May Cry game.
Really?
Yeah, and I actually loved it. It makes me really want to go back and play some of the original ones because I have all of them.
I played the first one, never beat it. I think the one I beat was 2, maybe 3. But I haven't played anything past that. Like all the other ones I bought when I get them on sale, but I've never actually taken the time to play any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So out of date. Sorry.
No, I loved it though. That's definitely one you should try out at some point.
Okay.
That was really fun.
Take your word for it.
Yeah,
I think that overall was a decent show. I mean, nothing in there like seemed like a bad game. I can understand how they weren't like the most hyped up games in the world, but there was some fun nuggets in there. Like, I mean, I think most people are gonna really be big on the Cowabunga collection. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's just such a great deal. Like, I mean, I'm sure there are some people who don't have the nostalgia for those games, but here's the thing, those games aged really well. Well, most of them did. I mean,
well, go figure the biggest things that came out of it were the new things. Cowabunga Collection and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Those were the two biggest things I saw people excited for, and that's because they were new releases. Not previous announced things. So
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all fair. I'm a little surprised. Maybe surprised is the wrong word, 'cause I think this is kind of par for the course of this game now. But like, I'm super excited about the Returnal thing, but I haven't seen a whole lot of buzz about that.
No, not really.
I
It's
don't
such
know.
a niche
Maybe
title, I think.
yeah, I think it's kind of in that camp, at least for me, like when the game of the year conversations were coming around, like people were like, well, it's a really good game, but I don't know this and that. It kind of fell into like such a niche, like almost like what was it, Horizon did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Horizon was this great game for the genre. And I think in a similar vein, Returnal was like this excellent game for this genre, but it was one of those games that had a barrier. And I think a lot of people just turned off by that barrier. I think it didn't help too that nobody had a freaking PS5, so there was no way to play the game. So I think that hurt it some, but yeah, I can't
Mm-hmm.
recommend that game enough. If you're cool with like, the alien like aesthetic and you like a game that's challenging, Returnal's where it's at, man. So yeah. I'll stop guessing. I'm sorry. I just like that game so
You're good.
much.
But yeah, I guess overall for me, I thought the state of play was fine. It was a fine little showing. I I don't really go into these things with much expectations anymore. Simply, I think it makes it more entertaining when you kind of just go in and don't really expect a heck of a whole lot. Yeah, is that kind of how you approach some of these events now?
Yeah, I mean, my whole structure on how I even like review these events is different. Like, I'm not dying to like watch them when they're live or anything, because here's the thing: they're not like live events anymore. They're all pre-recorded
Mm-hmm.
advertisements. So they basically all they did was drop like 10 trailers. So
Yeah.
usually what I do is I let it just kind of drop whenever, and then I'll go on to one of the news outlets and kind of see what the overview was, what the big titles were, and then start picking through the trailers as I see fit. So
Mm.
they definitely don't feel like the events they used to. Maybe I've just kind of become adjusted to this format, and some people maybe are still looking at these big hype events, but they're just not that anymore, man. I'm very curious to see how the summer's going to play out because EA is gone. Not EA. Oh, I mean, I wish EA was gone. I'm sorry. E3. E3 is just like gone. Um, like I don't think they officially canceled it, but they haven't said like anything about it. And we're like a couple of months out from when it would actually happen. So
They
you're
haven't even
missing.
said that E3. Or sorry, I don't know if you just said that. I just lost track. I was just gonna say they haven't even announced if E3 is even gonna happen this year.
All that it was they. I think they originally did. I think they canceled a potential chance for a live E3. They officially did that a few months ago,
Oh
and there was
yeah,
a whole bunch
yeah.
of controversy
So
over.
now it's a
Oh, they
digital
were going to
only.
do that anyway, but they never even said if they were going to do a digital one. They just haven't said anything. So I think they're letting this thing just die out, which is kind of sad to be honest. Like I know people are like, well, E3 doesn't matter anymore, but there was something nice about getting all these publishers together and letting all these developers kind of interact and do like backdoor dealings and stuff like that to get
Mm,
new agreements done. Like, and there was an energy to it. Like, yeah, it wasn't the same as it had been 15 years ago, but I don't necessarily think it should just go away. So I'm a little sad that E3 may not happen, and we're kind of now relegated to these tiny little events. Because I don't know, gaming is sometimes a spectacle, and the
mm.
fact that we don't have those spectacle events is kind of sad. I guess you have Gamescom coming up, and whatever Jeff Keighley does, which whatever. So I don't know.
Ugh, don't get me started on Game Awards. Every time I watch them, they go on for 4 hours or something, and I'm like, dude, this is too. It's so bloated.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think just the nature of the beast for all these things now. Like, and that's what happens. Things get too big, and then they kind of collapse in on themselves. That's what kind of happened with E3 before the pandemic. It just changed and evolved and blew up till it wasn't even like an image of what it used to be anymore. And it'd be nice if it could get back to its roots. But
Yeah.
I'm being probably just an optimist or trying to remember the good old days. I don't know.
Well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you thinking about the good old days.
Now, I gotta have something I look forward to in life, Chaz. Everything's so busy.
I feel you. I mean, you're probably way more tired than me, but I was actually pretty tired coming into this too. But yeah, I guess
It's all good.
we're running a little long. Still, we're going
As
longer than I thought
always.
we do keep freaking doing.
We gotta get that timer, man. We need a timer that goes off in 15 minutes, and then we shut up.
No,
Unless
our
you guys like hearing us, then you tell us not to do that. But
our
you guys have probably already turned us off by
no,
now.
our listeners enjoy hearing our sultry voices.
Sultry, yeah.
But yeah, guys, I guess that was again. It was kind of a slow week, so I feel like that first topic was something we kind of made up last second. But I actually really wanted to talk Mask of the Phantasm, so had a little bit of fun there.
Yeah, for those who are listening, let us know if you like hearing about that kind of stuff. Like when
Yeah.
there's slow weeks, I mean, I think we like to use that as an opportunity to be like, well, what about this game that I used to like, or this movie I used to like? Something that's kind of, side related to stuff going on. So like since the Batman was coming out, it seemed like a good time to talk about some of our favorite Batman
Feel
memories.
free to shoot any recommendations on anything you guys like hearing us talk about. Anything you want to hear talk about. I mean, we're totally open to anything. We welcome a dialogue.
We're here for your views and your listens. So
Absolutely.
we will sell out. No, just kidding.
All right, Phoenix. Well, I guess just kind of tell the audience what you got going on this upcoming week, what you're playing, what you got on your dock.
Oh man, don't put me in that spot because I'm not playing anything.
No.
It's just busy stuff. I got family stuff happening, work stuff.
Dude, I'm in the same boat. I'm not playing anything right now.
Don't get me wrong. I really want to be playing stuff. I don't know. I'm dying to get into Horizon, but I just can't. I can't convince myself to bite off a game that big right now. Honestly, I'm kind of interested now in still jumping into Elden Ring. Like after hearing about how much you hate it, it makes me want to play it even more. I don't know. Something about you disliking something makes me just want to rub it in your face somehow.
Hey,
I'm
you would not be rubbing gross. You would not be rubbing anything in my face. I could care less about that game. You could borrow it for the next 6 months. I could care less about that.
Regardless, I don't have time for any of that. Every once in a while, I still turn on Pokemon though.
Oh, dude, I've been doing it every night. Every night I play Pokemon for like 20-30 minutes. It's so good.
Yeah, it's just something about it. Like, I mean, I've really just about done everything I can in Arceus.
I'm just slowly picking away at the missions. I just go do 1 mission a night, 2 missions a night or something, and then I go to bed.
I'm still excited about what the new Pokemon game is going to be like end of the year, so I know we'll have lots of conversations about that, so I'll leave it for that. But yeah, that's about it. Not playing much. Sorry, I'm a bad gamer.
If you guys could, let me know what you might want to see me stream. I have, I want to play something, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to Guardians.
Do Guardians, man.
Really?
You're going to enjoy that now. I'm not sure from a streaming perspective. You'll probably get copyright claimed for everything because of all the licensed music.
I don't care about whatever.
Then I'd play that, man. I mean, I don't know if you've talked about much on this podcast, but I know you're a huge Guardians fan. And
oh yeah,
this game is, I mean, it's not like the movie. In some ways, it's better than the movie.
How long is it? Like a 10-hour game? 15?
It's not huge. Yeah, like you could probably beat it in 2 to 3 streams, depending how much you want to spend with it. It's a good time. It's got a good narrative.
It's on Game Pass now, so I can maybe tomorrow night I'll start it. I kind of want to start something tomorrow night, so
that'd be my recommendation. I think you'll dig it.
Cool. Well, like I said, guys, anytime you have any recommendations, is there anything you want to see us play, see me play, see us talk about, feel free to let us know. By all means, our door is open.
Well, we need to play. I keep saying it because I'll keep forgetting. I want to still finish Nobody Saves the World because I was starting to get into that. So
I enjoyed it. I'm just whenever we can sync up, that's all that matters.
We should do it probably won't read well in the actual podcast, but do a podcast discussion while streaming the game. Merge 2 things together. Let's see.
Something we'll talk about later, but I still really want to do specific I really want us to do specific podcasts for something big, like our reaction to something. I really want to do one, or maybe we can incorporate those into these, I don't know, but when the Halo show comes out, I feel like it might be fun for us to watch it and come and talk about it, or maybe, I don't know, you know what I mean, stuff like that. Might be kind of cool. Maybe 20-30 minute sit downs.
Oh, you kidding? That's not going to be 20, 30 minutes. It's going to feel like 20 or 30 hours by the time we're done.
I know.
Everything we talk about drags. So.
Yeah, well, we're dragging right now. But yeah, I guess I'll just kind of wrap it up at there, guys. We had a lot of fun. I always have fun with these. Getting to talk to my buddy, getting to talk to you guys, hearing what you got to say. I guess just as always, Phoenix, or anything you wanted to say before we head on out?
No, I'm going to shut up. We've talked to you guys too long. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Love you guys. I will see you again. Salute. Bye-bye. Have a good week. Adios, muchachos.
Shut up, Chaz. Bye.